Righto, here we go. Orange ball, top right pocket. Beautiful. Ray Reardon, Eddie Charlton, they've got nothing. G'day folks, Uncle Knackers here and welcome to my Summer Builds 2021 project. Check it out. What an absolute little ripper. I love it. Summertime's a great excuse to go outdoors and play a few games, which was the inspiration for this project. To build a pool table that you can take outdoors, that is portable, hangs up on the wall for storage, and wait for it, it rotates. Yep, you heard right, it rotates. And why does it rotate? Well, you better stay tuned to find out why. Let's go. Now the first thing we need to do is to cut the playing surface to size. Now for the playing surface, I've got myself a sheet of plywood. It's 1200 millimeters or 4 feet wide, and this sheet is 2.4 meters or 8 feet long, which is a bit too big for what I want. So I'm going to cut this down to a length of 2 meters and 50 millimeters, which is about 80 3/4 of an inch. Now as you can tell, I'm using this black Formply for the playing surface. Now this is the same stuff they use on construction sites for forming up concrete. Now there's two main reasons why I'm using the black Formply. Number one is that it comes out beautifully smooth, straight and flat. And number two is that the surface is waterproof to a certain degree, which is great if you accidentally spill a drink, which, let's face it, it's pretty unlikely. As if you're going to be sitting around with your mates having a beer whilst playing pool. It never happened. No, not on my watch. Now I just need to explain one thing very quickly regarding cutting the ply to size. Now the pool table is going to be made up of two sheets of plywood. The first one is that 17 millimeter, which I think is a touch over 5/8 of an inch black Formply. That's for the playing surface. And the second is a sheet of 12 millimeter or 1/2 inch marine grade ply. That's for the base. Righto, listen up. This is where you need to take note. That playing surface, the black Formply, whatever size you cut that, it needs to be about 20 millimeters or 3/4 of an inch smaller in width and length than the marine grade ply that you're using for the base down below. Just remember that. Now with these two sets of templates that I've just knocked up, I'll be using those to mark out the corner and the side pockets. Now with our corner pocket template, I've got that pointy bit right there. Line that up to the corner of our playing surface, and I've also got a mark in the center up here. We want to line that up with our 45-degree line that we marked in earlier. So place the corner on the corner like that, and then the center on that 45-degree line. That's looking pretty good. And now with your pencil, mark the corners, bing, bang, and boom. And then grab your combination square and run a 45-degree angle back from here and from over there. Beautiful. Now I've just placed a few white dots on all those corners using a white paint marker. That just makes lining things up a bit easier. Now using the second part of our corner pocket template, which is this one here, line that up to our white dots, and then we'll stick that down with some spray adhesive. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now all we need to do is to repeat that process for the center pockets using our center pocket template. Beautiful. Okay, it's time to cut the top rail for the pool table to length. Now I'm using two pieces of 89 by 19mm pine, which I'll laminate together. And once I do, that'll come to a height of 38mm, which is almost the standard height of a pool table cushion. Now I'll cut these to length, the same size as the ply that we're using for the base and not the ply for the playing surface. And just for the record, if you're using my pocket hole template, that will only work if you're using rails that are roughly the same size as mine. Okay, those rails have now been cut and I've temporarily nailed them together and then clamped them down in place on top of the playing surface, ready for the holes to be cut out for the pockets. Now, if we have a look down here, you'll also see that I've nailed on some 10mm blocks on both sides of every corner. That just makes it so much easier to line up the edges of that top rail. To mark out the holes for the pockets, the first thing we need to do is to draw a 10mm line on the edge of both sides of that corner. Now, these two lines here represent the edge of the playing surface plywood. Now, grab our trusty old template once again, and with the sharp end, that bit there, place that on the intersection, like that, and then swivel this around until that edge and that edge hit the top rail at exactly the same time, which is about there. That looks pretty good. And then with your pencil, mark each point. Bang and bang. Then just simply with your combination square, run a 45-degree line off both of those points, as you can see there. Next, grab the second part of your template, line that corner and that corner up with these 2 points. Just like that. That looks pretty good. And then with your pencil, you can just run a few lines off that template, and that'll give us a line for our jigsaw to follow. Beautiful. Oakley dokley, there's that pocket all cut out. And I have to say, it didn't turn out too bad. 5 more to go. The next job on the agenda is to build the frame for the pool table, and this is going to be the meat in the sandwich for those 2 sheets of ply, and we're going to build this to exactly the same dimensions as the sheet of ply that we're using for the base. Now, just a quick heads up, this section here is the ball catchment area. Might have to workshop that phrase, sounds a bit risque. Anyway, just make sure that the inside rail is 160mm, which is about 6 1/4 of an inch in from the outside edge. Now this is the centre of our table, and this is our centre rail. Now you may have noticed that I've made a 13mm checkout just there, and I've also added a ledge on this rail and this rail, which sit down that 13mm, the same as our centre rail. Now look, this is purely experimental, but what I'm thinking is using an offcut from that first sheet that we cut, I'll drop that in place, and then I'll screw on a Lazy Susan mechanism, and then pretend this is the base of our pool table. That'll sit on top just like that. Now, if this pool table goes onto a much larger table, it can be difficult to play certain shots. So having this in place will enable us to rotate the table so we can make the shot. Now, it could be an absolute disaster, or it might be fantastic. You'll just have to keep on watching and see what happens. Okay, let's just get rid of that frame for the time being and concentrate on laminating the top rails by gluing, nailing and screwing the boards together. And just make sure you do that from underneath, that way it won't be seen. And don't forget to wipe off any excess glue, as that can stain the pine. Plywood that's been cut leaves a sharp edge, so I just want to give all those edges a little bit of love by applying a small round over cut with my router. This is then followed up by gluing a thin strip of pool table cloth to the inside of the holes. Okay, I just want to give the top of the table a quick sand with an 80 grit sandpaper just to take off that ultra shiny surface. Okay folks, here comes the tricky bit. The part that I've been absolutely dreading, and that is fitting the pool table cloth. Seriously, I'm just playing it by ear at the moment, as I know absolutely nothing about the process. I just hope I get it tight enough without any wrinkles. Speaking about wrinkles, what's old, grey and wrinkly and hangs out Grandpa's underpants? Grandma! Yeah, because she does all his washing and that, so yeah, that's her job, the washing, so yeah. Better go feed the dog. Oh, and there you have it. That was really hard work, I have to say, but it turned out pretty good. I'm absolutely stoked. Actually, relieved is more the word. Beautiful. Now just a quick tip when drilling these holes, make sure everything's clamped down nice and tightly with a block on top and a block underneath. This one down here will stop any blowout underneath the playing surface ply, and having it clamped down nice and tightly will stop any sawdust build up underneath the cloth. Clamp the frame hard down onto the underside of the playing surface and then attach the frame using these L brackets. To cover up the edge of the playing surface that shows the blue cloth, I'm just nailing on a trim as a cover strap. Look at that! Fits like a finger in a glove. Just making a support here that needs to go on before the base is screwed down. Before I do screw the base down, I just want to cut out the hole for the wall hanging slot and the Lazy Susan. Yep, I said Lazy Susan. And I do apologise if I have offended anybody called Susan for referring that they are potentially lazy, because after extensive research I did actually find out that most people called Susan are in fact not lazy. Cheers! Oh, that's a good cuppa. Just a bit of Uncle Knacker's rustification work going on here, courtesy of a saw, chisel, nails, screws, and last but not least, my trusty old hammer. Make sure you fill up all those holes with a bit of black paint and then finish off with a couple of coats of a clear polyurethane. Now the reason for the table rotating is that say you place my 7-foot table on a table that is maybe 12 feet. It's going to be difficult to play a shot on one end while standing so far away from the table. Spin the pool table around and the problem's fixed. Now with all that done, let's play some pool.
Oh, yeah, good job, alright.
Now if you want to see more videos just like that one, make sure you check out my favourite top 3 scrapwood projects playlist, which should be popping up over there very shortly. Hope to see you there. And I have to give a big thanks to Vic from Down Under Woodworks for getting off his bum and organising the challenge. Cheers mate, you're a legend. Alrighty, after all that, I'm off for a cup of tea and a game of pool. So till next time, be good, be safe, and I'm out of here. Cheers.